Hey guys, welcome to Theme Park Fantasy. Today we're going to be reviewing the Wave over at the Contemporary Resort right by the Magic Kingdom. Please be sure to like and subscribe before we begin so you never miss a message from us.
The Contemporary Resort is located right next to the Magic Kingdom, which has spectacular views of Magic Kingdom and Seven Seas Lagoon. We have never been into the restaurant before. This is the Wave. It is located on the first level of the Contemporary, and it is cozy, good-sized room. The ceiling seems to be a little low.
Yeah, it was also a loud location. I think they tried hard to keep it quiet. I mean, I did notice they had, acoustic panels above. It is a carpeted floor, but the tables are a bit on the crowded side. You do kind of feel a little claustrophobic, or at least we did.
Yeah.
And it did seem extremely loud. The bar actually was more of a relaxed setting than we had thought. As you can see, from the picture here, it's a nice looking bar spread out. The lounge itself is themed in kind of blue light, so it gives you kind of a tranquil feeling. And that's, that intrigued us, even though we didn't really sit in there. We certainly, will come back and do that at some point.
So, I ordered with Ted the Seven Seas Lagoon shared cocktail, which was basically a giant glass of alcohol. It had vodka, rum, and curacao agave in it, nectar. I thought it was very good. It had a glow cube in it, and it came in a tinted blue glass. It also had gummy fish and fruit bulbas in it, so I thought it was a really nice kind of party cocktail.
Yeah, it was a good cocktail. It certainly was large enough for two. It was strong, but not overly strong. I thought it had good flavor. It is a pineapple lime-based drink. So, all it was missing was basically the little tropical umbrellas. Now, Beth, in turn, had the Provenance Merlot. And what do you think about that?
The wine was very dry. It had a nice, I don't like sweet, so it wasn't sweet. It was a very dry taste. It complemented my meal very well. I wasn't able to try the shared 2 drink because I'm allergic to pineapple juice. But it looked incredible, as you can see by the pictures.
Alrighty, now we're going to get started with the food. First of all, they supplied us with a nice multi-grain bread and butter. The butter was a sea salt flavored butter. It was nice. It was fresh. It was a bread and butter service. It was good. It wasn't over the top. It was tasty. Then, as always, they had a lump crab cake appetizer. And when it comes to lump crab cakes, it's something that the 3 of us enjoy anyway, so we have to try that. Beth, what did you think about it?
The taste was fine. Very disappointed in the size. Extremely small. And if I'm saying that to you, that means it's small.
Yeah, Beth is kind of a picker.
I'm a picker, so when I say to you this is small, it's small.
Yeah, they were basically 2, I'd call them $half sized, crab cakes, which,
They look like mini muffins.
Yeah, mini
muffins.
Yeah. For the $15 or whatever they were. Yeah, they were not the bright spot of the meal by any means.
And considering you can go over to Boathouse in Disney Springs and get a full-size crab cake that's about 3 times the size of those 2 together for only $25, which is $10 more,
yeah,
that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, the flavor was good in them. You could tell they were fresh crab cake, but, that was kind of a letdown.
There's lots of crab cakes across Disney World, though, so you lose points for the size.
Yeah, definitely. So, next of all, Beth had, for her main entree, she had the grilled beef tenderloin on potato au gratin with asparagus and a red wine reduction.
Which was very, very good. I have to have my steak well done. So I do tell the chefs I prefer to have them butterfly it so it doesn't dry it out and make it a hockey puck. And it was done very well. I was pleased with it. The potato au gratin was very cheesy. It had great taste to it. So overall, this was a very good meal for me. I was very pleased with it.
Yeah, as always, we do share our plates around, and I do prefer my steak on the rare side, but I will say even the well-done steak had very nice flavor.
Yeah.
It was not dried out. The potatoes the same. They did do a very good job. So this entree certainly was a very good choice. Now, Jace had the sea scallops, which were a pan-seared sea scallop with a lemon thyme cream, asparagus, roasted cauli, candied carrots, and arugula pesto. Jace?
The sauce was excellent. I really liked the vegetables, but it run into the same issue that you had with the crab cakes, which is your price does not justify the size. The price was seconded only to Beth's steak. And comparatively, in terms, the steak was much larger. And while the sea scallops were good, I was told they were going to be jumbo. They weren't. They were pretty small sea scallops, actually.
Yeah, they were an average.
Only four.
Yeah, four did seem a little ridiculous.
It was the main dish. They were very small. Again, very displeased with the size.
We've actually had an appetizer of scallops over in Disney Springs at Raglan Road that had 4 scallops twice the size of this, and that was an appetizer.
Yeah.
So this, taste-wise, it was a very nice meal. It had good flavor. The vegetables were a nice choice, but the scallops were, a huge letdown. I know that's typically a hard thought when you do go out and you get seafood. The portion sizes do tend to vary significantly between locations. However, this, really was a poor choice on their part. If there were 6, this would have been an amazing meal.
Yeah.
And it certainly would not have broke the bank for them to do 6 on a plate. Yeah. But 4, that, was really on the crazy side. So. Yeah. And then I had the braised beef short ribs, which was on a roasted garlic potato puree with summer vegetables and pepperdew vinaigrette. This was fabulous. This is like best steak. The portion size is very good. That's why the portion sizes here are all over the map. Some are just not a good value. The 2 steaks, the short rib and the beef, they were a good value. I mean, I'm a good eater. And when I left there, I was full. So, it was a good sized meal. My short rib was done, perfectly. The vegetables were very good. It had great flavor. I have no complaints whatsoever with this meal here at all. Our server,
He was a good server.
Yeah, he did a good job. I mean, he tried hard. The kitchen seemed to be having a hard time that night. They were running behind. Didn't really bother us. We were sitting there relaxing anyways. But, it was almost a 2-hour dinner service where that is stretching it a little. This is not by any means, the upscale table service.
No.
It's just pretty much a regular Disney table service at this point. You agree, Jace?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The prices are below what you would get at I'd say below a 2 credit, because they're like $30 for the, a little over $30.
Yeah, 25 to 30 is a good ballpark.
Mine was probably 32, which is part of the reason I was unhappy with the size of my scallops. Yours was, Beth's was probably the only one that was a little bit more. I think it was like $2 more, 34.
Yeah.
So the prices aren't as bad as some of the other upscale fine dining. The downside of that is this food seems to take as much time as a fine dining does as well, because it's essentially smaller portions of a fine dining. So it's not going to be an in-and-out restaurant like you're going to find at a lot of the other resorts either. You're not going to want to do a park reservation with this because the restaurant takes way too long.
Either that or you certainly want to allow time. I mean, the atmosphere in the building, it was nice. It was relaxing. We said earlier it is a little on the loud side.
I would distinctively say that it was actually, it's kind of hard because as a sit-down restaurant you want it to be comfortable somewhat. I think that the lighting was comfortable, but the amount of people that were crowded in there, if people don't like being crowded with a bunch of other people during their sit-down table service.
Well, for an example, how many times did a wait person bump into you, Beth, throughout the night?
Oh, every time.
Yeah, I counted at least 4 times, and every time she went between the tables.
To serve the table behind us, she kept hitting my chair, to the point where she never apologized once.
Yeah, we actually got up and pulled the table away.
We pulled the table away because she just kept running into me. Obviously, she's used to it being that crowded. She just kept bumping into me and didn't say anything. Our server, he was fabulous. He kept apologizing. He kept apologizing for how long the food was taking. You could tell he was uncomfortable, but we are pretty easygoing people. So you could tell he was like, thank you for being so good about it, and I'm trying to get it going here.
And another reason that I think that it was so uncomfortable for him was, and a lot of the surfers looked like they were having a hard time getting around.
Yes.
And I think it's because they put in more tables recently.
Yeah.
Looking at pictures and stuff, and then you look at when we actually went there, we were actually seated in a doorway. That's
Yes,
what we're
we were.
in. This is part of a
Yeah, there's like a
conference.
side room that they can close a folding door and make a private party room out of it.
Well,
We were actually seated in the door span.
In the door span.
where that conference room would have been sealed off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of awkward. And there was another table there, and you could tell. I don't think those are supposed to be there because everybody had a hard time with them being there.
He did a good job though.
That's
He earned his money. He worked hard for it. We kept up on our drinks, and he at least kept us up to date as to where we were and what was happening.
Yeah,
so
he
that
was
was
real
important. But, so, Jace, what would you give it for forks?
I'd give it 4.
4? How about you, Beth?
I would give the restaurant, the food quality was a 3. The server, if he wasn't as good as he was, it would have been very, very disappointing. Like you said, he was very aware of the condensedness and the bumping waitress that kept running into me, and the food was so far behind, and I want to give him a good shout out because he was really, really good. And I don't want that to reflect on him because the restaurant was in disarray, and the time was really, really off. And the seats, the 4 for a $32 meal was absurd. It was very upsetting. It was very insulting. And people do work hard. Disney knows that they put their life savings into their trips. And for someone who has worked for 2 or 3 years to go here, I would tell them not to waste your money. There's other places that do treat you well, do good food quality, and you don't have to worry about being run into. So for my preference, I would give it a 3 because you are talking minimum money and people just don't have it. So if you want to have it and have a full experience and have good quality food, being out on time, I would not recommend this restaurant.
This is kind of a restaurant of extremes. Some of the food was very good. The flavors were all good. That was not the issue. But when it came to...
And it's the only reason that I got a 4 out of 8.
The food quality itself was very good. Our server was very good.
He's fantastic.
The atmosphere was loud and cramped and claustrophobic. The food, the size of the entrees, the 2 beef entrees were fine, but Jace's seafood was small. So, yes, what Beth's saying, it's kind of a contradiction here and there. It's a pick and choose. We will go back and try the bar and the lounge. But, quality, it's too bad. The food is good, but, it doesn't exactly drive you to want to come back when you sit there and the wait staff is constantly bumping into your table. I would probably, it's a hard choice for me. I would probably say 4 forks if we're looking at, food. If I have to factor in the whole thing, I'm probably going to say 3. 3 forks because, they have some work to do. This restaurant's been open for a number of years now. I know they went through a remake, but still these types of items, they're what detract. Especially in Disney now where they're opening up so many different locations. Guests throughout Disney World are going to have the option to go to several, new places coming up, throughout the Coronado, the Riviera, Star Wars Land, everything that's opening here and there. It's going to get harder and harder for some of these lesser resort restaurants to compete. And even though this is in the Contemporary next to the Magic Kingdom, they still should have to maintain, a level. And, I don't think they really did at this point. But, so, this has been Theme Park Fantasy for Jace.
And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you very much, and thank you for watching.